Hi, I'm Jay Porter from Radial Engineering, and today we're going to go over the space heater. Back when we first started looking into building a summing mixer, we kind of looked at some different ones that were out there, and our experience with tubes both in the studio and our Tonebone 12AX7 tube distortion pedals, thought, you know what, that would be a really good way to add some fun personality, some color, and some warmth to a summing mixer for in the studio, and not only allow it to be used as a summing mixer, but also allow it to be used just as a tube overdrive and distortion unit. So first of all, the space heater uses 4 12AX7 tubes that are wired in stereo to give you 8 individual channels. So when you look at the front panel here, you'll see everything's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. So because it uses 4 tubes, certain features are shared amongst each channel pair. So first of all, we have the on switch. So the on switch, pretty self-explanatory, turns on the channel but also allows you to bypass the channel. This is really handy when you're using it for subtle warmth. Next is the bus switch. This routes the audio coming into both channels through the stereo output. Next we have an HPF for high pass filter. So this is a nice gentle roll off at 40 Hz, makes it very usable for just cutting out that excess bottom end before it goes into the tube section. Next we have the on switch for the tube drive. So it has its own on and off switch. And finally we have the heat switch, and this applies different voltages to the tube. So the low voltage, 35 volts, that kind of starves the tube for voltage, and that's kind of the setting you go for when you really want to break something up and change the sound. The 35 volts is the setting to choose. Next you have the 70 volts. That's a good starting point for everything. It's kind of moderate level, get subtle distortion or a lot of gain out of that setting. And then 140 volts optimizes the voltage to the tube. Gives you a lot of juice. Takes a lot more level to break up the tube and can sound good on anything from a drum kit to bass guitar to even a vocal. So while all these features are shared across each stereo pair, every channel individually has its own dual concentric pot. And so basically you have an outer control here, which is your drive. This drives the level into the tube. This is your input level. On the inner control here, this is your final output level. Think of it as a master fader for each channel, so you can really get a lot of gain through the tube and then back off the level. When using the space heater as a summing mixer, you have a final level control, and you can turn on and off the output section of the mix bus and give yourself a level control there. And then you also have a headphone amp with its own level control as well. Alright, so flipping around to the back side of the space heater, very simple. We've got a 5-pin locking power supply, so a locking XLR goes out to the external power supply. We have link. This allows you to multiply as many space heaters as you want. You have your master stereo outputs, XLR, with a ground lift switch. Now finally you've got your outputs via D-sub. So all 8 channels output individually on this D-sub connector. You have balanced insert points. So insert sends and receives all balanced TRS jacks. This allows you to insert other analog gear for external processing. Very handy if you want to insert compressors or EQs or anything like that at the output of each channel, but before the summing mixer. So you want to patch in other analog hardware into the line, you can do that with these insert jacks. Next you have your input section. So input can be either D-sub or TRS. So this has been our introduction for the space heater. Stay tuned, we're going to have a whole series of videos showing how this thing can be used on individual instruments and as a summing mixer.